Guthrie, and this is the beginning of an interview with George Laypool at this home at 853 North Washington Street in Marion, Indiana. Mr. Laypool is 69 years old, having been born on September 8th, 1933. My name is Mark McCracken, and I'll be the interviewer. George Laypool is my grandfather. He is my mother's father. What war and branch of service did you serve in?
U.S. Army, Corps of Engineers.
And what war?
During the Korean conflict.
What was your rank?
Corporal.
And where did you serve?
I served in the United States Basic Training, Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And I went from basic to Camp Kilmer, New Jersey. And from there to Germany, Bremerhaven, port of debarkation. From there, I was stationed at Munich with the 7th Engineer Battalion, 5th Infantry Division.
Where were you living at the time?
With my mom and dad at 816 North Branson Street, Marion, Indiana.
Why did you join the Army?
Well, I figured the draft would get me sooner or later, so I didn't have no ties or attachments, no girlfriends or anything like that, no debts, so I figured, well, I'll get in and get it over with and get my time in and get back home and get my life started again.
Why did you pick the Army?
Well, that was really the best service I could think of to get in right at the time, other than, the other services almost require a career, and I didn't want to make a career out of the military because I was in military training from the time I was 9 years old till I was 16 at a children's Ohio Soldier and Sailors Orphans Home, where we learned all the basics about drill and marching and arms and all this stuff, and I just decided I didn't want no part of it, so that's why.
Did you join the Army before or during the war?
During the Korean conflict. It was finishing up in 53, and I joined in 53. When I got out of basic training, why, they were more or less mop-up operations in Korea at the time. I thought maybe I might go there, but I didn't. My orders were cut for Germany.
Do you recall your first days in service?
Yeah, I spent a week, I think, at Fort Knox, Kentucky, with the 3rd Armored Division for pre-orientation. Then I went from there to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for my basic training, which was 16 weeks. Bridge building, rigging, engineer school, how to build roads, airstrips, and so forth.
What did it feel like?
Well, first homesick, because you're not used to that life and the discipline and the strictness, and it's just something you have to adjust to, but after a month or so, while you get used to it, get in the groove.
Tell me about your boot camp experiences.
Well, we learned how to build timber trestle bridges. We learned how to set up bridges for demolition, to blow them out. We learned how to mine sweep and uncover personnel mines and the other type of mines. We learned how to take compass readings. We run infiltration courses, muddy, under barbed wire, gunfire overhead, so it was about like the real thing.
Do you remember your instructors?
Yeah, they were pretty strict, but they had to be to make us be the kind of soldiers that we should be to keep us from getting killed, because good discipline and good training goes into a lot of that.
How did you get through it?
Great. Come through with flying colors, good physical shape and all.
What did you think of the Korean War?
Well, I thought it was something that we had to do to keep the communists from taking over, which was our aim at that time, and if we didn't stop them there, we'd be stopping them somewhere else.
Where exactly did you go?
Well, I went to Germany. I stationed at Munich with an engineer battalion, and then we went out on war games there in Germany, simulating war games, and building bridges, and went out to summer camps, bivouacking. I went over there in November, just when it was getting cold and snowing, and I had no sooner hit the company thing, and they said, well, you're going into the field. So I went into the field and stayed 2 weeks right off of the bat.
Do you remember arriving in Munich and what it was like?
Yeah, I'd never been, in a foreign country, and I was looking at all the buildings and the landmarks, and, I really enjoyed them because I like travel myself, and I decided while I was over there I was going to see all I could see.
What was your job?
Well, my first job was, when I first got over there, just a regular GI at first, learning about bridge building and generally engineer stuff. But then wasn't too long after that, I went to cooking, and I cooked there for 18 months for all the troops and stuff. Enjoyed it.
Were you awarded any medals or citations?
Yeah, I was awarded German Occupation Ribbon, Good Conduct Ribbon, Expert Marksman Rifleman's Ribbon, and there was one National Defense Ribbon.
How did you get them?
Well, by being in that theater at the time and during the Korean War, which I wasn't in that theater, but I was in during the time that was happening, so that's what gave us the priority to wear them.
While in Germany, did you see any wounded soldiers coming from Korea?
No, but I did see soldiers were in Korea that I talked to that were in my outfit, because the Korean conflict was already over with, and they were shipped out of there to different places all over the world, and some of them came to Germany. I had a couple of buddies there from Korea, and they really said it was kind of a bloody mess there, but they got through it.
Were local Germans resentful of your presence?
No, they really welcomed us because, we helped the local economy and everything with all the GIs and everything in there. We put money into the towns, and the people around there bought off their stuff, and then the U.S. Army, they bought a lot of the farm produce, eggs, milk, bread, and all that stuff, and they really, it boosted their economy. They liked us.
Was there tension with the Soviet Union being so close?
Yeah, during the occupation, of course, 3 different countries occupied Berlin, and the Soviets, they more or less surrounded it and wouldn't let us in or out with truck, jeep, or anything like that. So you remember the Berlin airlift that they had. They airlifted everything in and everything out. So we overcame that obstacle.
Were you ever updated on how the war was going?
Yeah, we took in for orientation every once in a while how it was going, and when it was over with, of course there was a lot of celebration and everything, and we thought it was great.
How did you stay in touch with your family?
Wrote a lot of letters.
What was the food like?
Food was great, especially overseas, Germany. It was really good. I'd say better than what stateside was.
Do you remember specifically what you had to eat at Germany?
Yeah, we had the normal beans, mashed potatoes, gravy, a lot of milk and butter. Hardly ever a sea ration. We had one sea ration day a week, which wasn't bad because we got some good stuff out of it. But and then Christmas time, we always had shrimp cocktail and all that, the best. But we eat real good when we was over there.
Did you have plenty of supplies?
Oh yeah, there was plenty. Supply rooms were always full, and I never did see a time we ran out of food or anything like that.
Did you feel pressure or stress?
No, not really. Everything after it got going, why we met the people there and got along, and we went on past into town and traveled around and used bicycles to see the country and so forth. So it was really an enjoyable time.
Describe a day in service while in Germany, like from sun up to sundown.
Well, first thing we got up, we eat breakfast, reveille was sounded, and you got to be out and stand formation. And then everybody went to their job after chow up till noon, and then the noon chow call, and we went in, and then from then we went back to our duties, which was normal either schooling or learning bridge building and so forth. And then about 5 o'clock, we retired, and the rest of the day was ours.
How did people entertain themselves?
Oh, GIs, we go out to the bars and party and all that and have a great time with the German people, and they were real hospitable. And there was either that or go out bicycling around the countryside and see the country, which is a beautiful country over there. It reminds you kind of the northwest part of the United States.
Were there entertainers?
Yeah, we seen some German entertainers while we was there that were movie stars. I can't remember some of the names, but we went in, and it was for us, why you want to get in, it only cost you about $1 or so. And if over there the standard of living was pretty low because their mark, which was would be equal to our dollar, I guess you'd call it.
What did you do when on leave?
Oh, traveled around, rested, mostly travel, and either go back stateside. We had the choice of flying back, but over there I didn't. I figured, well, I'll just stay over here and see the country and everything, and when I get back, I'll be back for good, because, once you get back stateside, you don't want to come back. So I just decided to stay there and travel around and see the country.
Where did you go before you went back stateside?
Hell, I was out in the field on war games, and I knew my time was getting close, and the orders came down for me to go back in, so the truck sent a truck out. I got on the truck, headed back to base, packed all my stuff, and headed for port of debarkation at Bremerhaven. From there, I got on a ship for New York.
Did you go from New York straight home, or?
No, we went by train from Camp Kilmer, New Jersey, after we hit New York, to Fort Sheridan, Illinois, cross country. It took about 14 hours on train, but we went through West Virginia and all those country, and we seen a lot of pretty country through there while we was on the trip, so it was an enjoyable trip too.
Do you recall any particularly humorous or unusual event?
Yeah, but I can't really recall anything specific.
Do you recall the day your service ended?
Yeah, it was May the 11th, 1955, at Fort Sheridan, Illinois, and well, I can tell you one humorous thing that happened. I wore my hair kind of long, and GI is supposed to keep it short. Well, this one company commander at Fort Sheridan caught me before I got discharged out, and he says, "You're going to get your hair cut before you get out of here." And I said, he says, "You report back at 1800. And so I went and got my hair all shaved off just like a butch, and come back and report, and he says, "Okay, you get your orders now." So that's happened there. And then I called my mom, and she came to Fort Sheridan, Illinois, pick us up, me and another guy, and he was from Logansport. And Mom and Dad got us and took us on back home, dropped this guy off at Logansport, and we went on to Marion, Indiana, which is my hometown. And during that time, I'd saved some money, so the first thing I was done when I got home was to look for a car.
Do you recall the day your service ended?
May 11th, 1955.
Where were you?
Fort Sheridan, Illinois. Mustering out base where all the guys went from this area there when they mustered out.
What did you do in the days and weeks afterward?
Oh, I took about 3 months off. I didn't have to be back to work for 90 days at Ball Foster Glass Company where I worked at when I left for the service. And they guaranteed me a job when I got back, so I just took it easy for about 30 days, went out, visited people, traveled a little bit, done some fishing, hunting, a lot of things like that, just enjoyed myself, and then when 90 days was up, I went back to work.
Did you make any close friendships while in the service?
Yeah, I made a lot of close friendships and kind of kept in touch, especially one guy from Missouri. I went home with him a lot when I didn't come home here, when I was on leave from basic training, and we kind of kept in touch, and I suppose he's still alive. I haven't heard that he's not, so yeah, I made a good contact there in Missouri, and also in St. Louis I knew a guy that I liked real well. We're good friends.
When was the last time you heard from these people?
Oh, about a year after I got home, I heard from them by letter, and we corresponded for a while, but then after a while it dropped off.
When you got home, what was the first thing you did?
Well, I had the $1,500 in my pocket, and I needed a car because the one that I had when I left, my mom got a hold of, and unbeknownst to me, she sold it, so I was without a car when I got back. So first thing I done was went out, bought me a 1951 Mercury Monterey 2-door, and it cost me $850 cash.
What did you do as a career after the war?
Well, I was in the glass industry from right after I got out of service, clear up till I retired.
Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
Yeah, I learned that, things had to be done in order to keep a country free. If we didn't, they'd just run all over you. So an aggressor starts, like the communists or these terrorist organizations, you gotta come up against them and stomp them out, or they'll run over you.
How did your service and experiences affect your life?
Well, it made me a better man, a better person. Values I respected more. I appreciated things a lot better, life a lot more, and in general, I enjoyed living.
Is there anything you would like to add that we have not covered in this interview?
Okay, I need to add this that I didn't think of before. I visited Hitler's headquarters in Berchtesgaden, Germany, and the United States Corps of Engineers has a big nightclub there called the Casa Carioca Nightclub, where they hold winter ice capades with some of the big name stars, and we got to go to that nightclub and see them perform, and it was built right there where Hitler's last days were at Berchtesgaden, at that big bunker there. Also, during the time I was in Germany, I had a steady girlfriend, who was one of the German girls, and I went with her all the time that I was over there, and we went out and enjoyed ourselves, dancing and having a good time, and really not anything really serious, just good friends. And then during basic, I'd forgot to mention that we had to crawl underneath barbed wire, which was only a foot or so off of the ground, and it was wet down, so it was mud holes and sand, and they had a machine gun firing over your head 44 inches above the ground, and you didn't dare raise up unless you wanted to lose your head. So I got through that, and I tell you, when we come out of the other end, we looked like a bunch of mud hogs. But we got back to the base, and right thing, we jumped into the shower, rifle, everything in there, and got all that mud and stuff off of us. That was something else I neglected to mention. So I can't think of anything else right now. Maybe, Mark, you got another question?
Yeah, I thought of this. How did your family react when they saw you?
Well, they was with jubilation, really. When I got home, why, all the relatives comes in, brothers and sisters, and they had a big party on me, welcome home, and for about a week, why, it just different people coming in and visiting and seeing how I was and what I'd done, and about like this interview, they asked a lot of questions and everything. So they were really glad to see me. I was glad to get home because, you know, I was getting a little tired of being over there, a little bit homesick, especially around the holidays. I spent 2 Christmases over there, and it's kind of rough when you have to spend Christmas away from home like that.
Well, thank you, George, for your time and for sharing your experiences.
Okay, thank you, Mark, for the interview. And like I say, 2 years in the service will not hurt any young man. In fact, it'll be good for him. So I enjoyed the service while I was in.